What's up, guys, and welcome back to the doctor's office. I am Dr. K. Ray Knight, here to give you proper diagnosis and prognosis and everything comics and comic book characters. You know, I have very often said, actually I don't think it's been often, but a couple of times I've said that I am not really a fan of Cyclops, and I haven't been, really. He's just not one of my faves. A lot of the times he gets on my nerves. However, this book, which is coming right after the raid of Graymalkin, Scott is not playing with them fucking people, and quite honestly, this version of Scott is right there. So this is the new X-Men book. Honestly, don't know what number we're on now, but and that is what is on the chopping block for today. Now, I did cover the raid of Graymalkin on my TikTok page, and basically Beast was taken. Same time, during Uncanny X-Men, the girl with the horse, whose name escapes me, she was taken, and Jubilee was also taken. Now, Rogue and Logan and Gambit and Nightcrawler are the Uncanny X-Men, and they're in charge of these kids. And of course, the X-Men, Cyclops has them all in Alaska. Alright, now, Scott was already planning to go save Beast because Beast had been kidnapped and taken to Graymalkin. Inside Graymalkin, he was getting beat up and all kinds of shit. So, by the guards and whatnot. So, they went to go get him, just like the Uncanny X-Men went to go get their people. However, when running into Rogue, and I think this is just where Rogue has pissed me off, they've come to where they see Inmate X. Now, nobody knows who Inmate X is. Everyone thought Inmate X was Charles. It is not Charles. And Charles does make an appearance because he does get Psylocke and Nightcrawler to let him out of his cell, which is down in the basement. But again, nobody knows who Inmate X is. So he was going to stay there because he was basically saying he does need to stay imprisoned. And Rogue was like, oh, we're not leaving without you. And prior to that, Rogue was trying to convince Scott to help her free Professor X while they were still thinking that Inmate X was him. And he said no, rightfully so, because Charles is a fucking danger to everybody. It doesn't matter. And one of the things that really pisses me off about Rogue is that she refuses to grow up and see things like with a fucking adult mind. And she's not realizing from anybody's point of view how fucked up Charles Xavier is. And to be perfectly honest, I want to say that Logan was on the same page with not letting Charles out of there. He didn't say anything because her attention was on Scott and they were trying to get the kids and everything. But had he been part of that conversation, she would have been pissed off at him too, because I think he would have definitely agreed. And then, like, even when they all left and got to safety after they were basically like thrown out of there, you know, they were able to rescue their people and then leave, she punched Scott because he was leaving, and he's like, Charles needs to stay fucking locked up. I don't know what it is that you're not understanding. He's made me kill people that I had no intention of killing, and he's also killed people. He doesn't need to be anywhere. And even with Charles saying to her that he does not need to be out, she's not fucking listening. Now, this book does set up what is about to happen. And the raid on Graymalkin also set it up, so it's also a contributing factor, because there is a story that's about to come out, I believe in March, called X-Men Hunt, when Charles does escape from Graymalkin and he takes refuge with Storm, which puts Storm directly in the middle of this situation. And it also puts three groups in the middle, because the X-Men, Scott and Captain Marvel, did make an alliance, and then of course she is part of the Storm is part of the Avengers. She does still have like a relationship with the X-Men, albeit a little bit broken. And then she was just with the uncanny X-Men when she was like healing up for a week, not able to use her powers and all this other stuff. So we've got this coming in. So here, the ONE has decided that they are going to arrest the X-Men for what they did at Grey Malkin. Magneto and the 3 people that they rescued, plus Glob and Zorn, are there. And Magneto is like readying this battle plan, but those 3 don't actually know how their powers are. They're actually freaking out because Scott did fake one of their deaths and all kinds of stuff. So they're like freaking out. And Magneto's like, I'm going to go out there. Zorn's going to like be back up and he's going to be helping you. Glob's going to, and they're like, but you'll die, because he does have disease that keeps his powers are out of whack. And if he continues to use his powers, he is going to die. And he's basically like, I'm willing to make this sacrifice for my people. And he was, Scott comes in and is like, actually, none of that is necessary. Zorn, Beast has been beaten up pretty bad. Can you like tend to him? You guys, y'all chill out. Y'all are fine. And then he looks at Magneto. He's like, you are not permitted to die yet. Okay? Don't fucking play with me. With that being said, he says, oh, so you have a plan? And he was like, of course I have a plan. The Hellions protocol was activated 20 minutes ago. Now it's time for us to open a line of communication. So he's asking for Lundqvist, who is the one who essentially kidnapped Beast to begin with, and the one that he's been having a problem with this entire time that he's been in Alaska. And so of course, he comes in and is like, oh, you done fucked up, Scott. And Scott's like, you know what? I am way past Provoked, as I've already said. And you guys have a problem on your hands. Now, as this is happening, the Hellions, which was a fucking surprise to me as to who is on this team, are being destructive. Creatively destructive, actually. And the Hellions, this version, is Phantom X, Chris Bedlam, or Chris Aronson, which is King Bedlam, and his brother Bedlam, Boom Boom, and Locust. I'm sorry, Chris and Jesse? Where the fuck? They are the Hellions here, and Scott had called them in to go and destroy the ONE factories literally around the world. So they are, at first they're in Chicago, they end up going to Newark, Texas, Colorado, all of these places. The entire time that Scott is talking to Lundqvist, they are destroying ONE factories. Okay. Now, when Lundqvist comes in, he's like, oh, are you ready to surrender? And Scott's like drinking a soda, and he's like, August 2nd, 2002. And he's like, is that supposed to mean something? Why, yes, it is. The American Service Members Protection Act was put into place. And he then, of course, is just like, okay, and he said basically that, which was just like a unique type of threat, was if you take one of ours, we are allowed to do anything we can to bring them back. Period, point blank. And of course, he starts quoting Shakespeare because he's like, are you a Shakespeare guy? No, of course not. But Beast is. Hank is. And he was like, the villainy you teach me, I will execute, but I will be the better instruction. Or I will go hard, but I will be the better instruction. And he's like, you're babbling. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? He was like, the raid on Grey Malkin, you taught us that kind of shit. Y'all took one of ours. We went and took him back. He's like, you're not the government, so stop trying to operate as if you are. He was like, says who? Says the fuck who? So of course he's just like, we've literally got you, period. Like, you don't have anything left in the tank after your fucking raid on them. And he was like, maybe, but you don't have any superhumans. Tell me, what did the Avengers say when your government asked them to step in to help you with this? And he was like, do you see any fucking Avengers? Of course they don't see any Avengers, because the Avengers weren't going to do a goddamn thing. Because that's what that deal was that happened between them. Do you know what I'm saying? So, so basically, like, this entire time, the Hellions are still destroying these ONE factories, and he finally gets the message about Chicago, and Scott's like, you pulled a knife, I pulled a gun. So as the Hellions are destroying things, Lundqvist is like, you basically sent your team to go destroy. He was like, my team? No. My team is here. My team is in this building. Whatever the O&E facilities are having issues with seems to be between the O&E buildings. I don't have anything to do with that. And he's like, don't fucking lie to me, Summers. He's like, I told you, I am way past Provoked. Way past it. Now, he does bring up the fact that he's like, you know, I could kill you here and now. Like, you basically just declared war. And he does bring up the fact that you are a government funded agency doing the work of a private entity because that private entity took the Xavier Institute building off of your hands, but it still has to be funded. Where are they getting that money from? Don't fucking play with me. And he was like, this is not a war. This is not a war, not a hot one anyway. He was like, but it can turn that way. And it's very odd that you are bringing up the fact that war could be happening, because what it would mean for you is if I am killed by a federal agent or any government entity, then the Phoenix is going to come and burn the fucking world down. And I don't care. I'm not going to live long enough to see it. He puts that man's gun to his head and is like basically saying, if you're going to fire, fucking fire. Because once you do, please know that it is going to be the end of this fucking planet. Point blank, period. And so of course Lungfist thinks that he's bluffing. He's like, I'm not. And like earlier he's like, call them off, Summers. He's like, no. Fuck no. So he finally, basically, after making his very, very real threat, it may seem like a veiled threat and that he's not going to act on it, but at this point in time, Scott has every reason to do so. Because they haven't done anything to anybody. They've been here in this facility. Lungfist has been bothering them, and Lungfist is the one who assisted in the kidnapping of Beast to begin with. So you participated in that. Therefore, I have no like loyalty to any of you fucking people. We've been defending you guys for years, and y'all have done nothing but come after us. We have helped you all for decades, and y'all have done nothing but attack us. At this point in time, I don't give a fuck. Y'all can die. Basically. And he's like, and you can tell your government that shit too. Quit playing with me. So he's like, you know what, fine, I'll leave, I'll tell them, but you know, this isn't over. And he's like, it never is. So Quentin Quire comes in and he's just like, should I like tell the Hellions to stop? He's like, yes, Quentin, please, as he opens up another fucking soda. And Quentin's like, were you being serious? Like, if you were to die, then like the Phoenix would come and burn the entire world? And he's like, it's not something that I can't rule out. He's like, I can't just say that it's not going to happen. Because he was like, you were a host to the Phoenix before, so you know what the Phoenix is like, especially operating on emotions. And then he was like, so like, what do we do if you do die? He was like, you, my Omega level telepath, would be the one having to help the X-Men stop the Phoenix. Hello? You're not listening. He's like, why do you think you're on the team? And I love that these are protocols that he actually had in place prior to, because he already knew that how this was going to go. Because again, they've been fighting like this for decades. They have been going up against the government and all of these people who hate mutants all so much for decades. And they've done nothing but protect people. And that is the thing that has always been just an issue for me when it comes to, because when you need them, they're there. You're perfectly fine with the idea of the Avengers helping you, but not the X-Men. But then you want the X-Men to help you when it's something that the X-Men can do. Make up your mind. This version of Scott, I am very truly enjoying, because at this point in time, Scott is not playing. He's not playing with nobody. And the fact that he has King Bedlam and Jesse together and Phantom X all on the same team, please. Now, one of the things I find very interesting is that King Bedlam is only doing this for a specific reason. He has a specific favor specific price. And Scott even says that King, because Quinn's like, King said that he wants what's owed to him. He's like, I'm very much aware. He wants a specific head, and he wants us to deliver it to him. I feel like that specific head is Charles. Because why? You know what? If it was Charles, I would not be surprised. As many times as Charles has stabbed people in the back, I absolutely would not be surprised if Charles is the specific head he's looking for. Phantom X being on that team is also interesting, especially like with all of that happening. So I really feel like Charles is the specific head. I don't know. We shall see. X-Men Hunt comes out in March, and I'm very interested to see how this goes. We do have, I think, a couple issues, maybe one more X-Men issue before that comes out, which is going to lead into X-Men Hunt, I believe. So that'll be very interesting. This story, man, this is an X-Men story that I'm really enjoying post Krakoa era, because it is basically what is happening with that main roster, like the main people that Charles counted on the most, and them having Magneto there as well is also something, because, you know, Magneto counted on Scott as well. Storm not being there, but Storm separated herself from the X-Men long ago, like when she was like the regent of Krakoa, and then she was Queen of Mars and all that shit. So like she separated herself, and she ended up going to the Avengers versus being over there with the X-Men. So, and then in the time where she would not be using her powers, she went to where Rogue and Logan, Nightcrawler, and them were. So there's something in particular about this team, because they're so active. And like, because, you know, she didn't even go back to the Avengers with that, because the Avengers are so active. So like she had like, and there was like an entire week where she didn't have to do anything. So I really think that when X-Men Hunt starts, because Storm is involved in that, because Charles does go stay with her for protection, I think that that's going to have cataclysmic repercussions when it comes to this X-Men team between them and Storm, the Avengers, and Candyman, whoever, the Hellions, whatever the fuck. So his bluff is not a bluff at all. It's not something that he can't that he can rule out, but it's also not guaranteed that she's not going to flip her shit if something happens to Scott, because they are married. So we shall see. But that is it for this episode of The Doctor's Office. If you have not gotten the book, please do so. Also, check out the podcast. It is literally available on all things podcasts. So, and I will see you guys at your next checkup.